What happens to twins in 2026 is scary. Gemini, something is approaching from the shadows of time. Something inevitable. Something that will forever alter the course of your existence. Cosmic forces that have been moving silently since 2021 finally converge in 2026, and the impact will be devastating. The universe is about to collect a debt you didn't even know you owed. And you know what's most disturbing? All of this was already written in the stars, carved into the fabric of your destiny, and deep in your soul you always sensed it. This video is not for those seeking comfort or light predictions. This is a call for those brave enough to face truths that burn, ruptures that transform, and revelations that cannot be undone. Stay with me until the very last second, because the final revelation will shake every fiber of your being. Prepare to discover not just what's coming, but who you truly are behind all the masks you've constructed. If you're feeling a tightness in your chest right now, if something inside you recognizes these words, subscribe immediately to the Astrological Revelations channel. Activate all notifications, because this message may disappear at any moment. And when you need it most, it might be too late to find it again. Gemini, ancestral messenger of air, guardian of thresholds between worlds, bearer of the dual flame that burns in light and shadow. Listen carefully to what I'm about to reveal. 2026 won't be just another solar cycle spinning in the void of space. It will be a dimensional portal opening, a crack in the fabric of your reality, a point of no return. And you, whether you want it or not, are already being pulled into it. The universe won't ask your permission. It will simply drag you into transformation. Many look at Gemini and see indecision, volatility, mental dispersion, inconstancy. But those who judge don't understand the true nature of your power. In 2026, it will be exactly this ability to mutate, to adapt, to dance between opposites that will determine whether you survive or succumb to what's coming. Your duality is not weakness, Gemini. It's the most powerful weapon you possess. And in 2026, you'll need it like never before. I am the voice that echoes in the astral shadows, the whisper that crosses the veil between worlds. And this is the Astrological Revelations channel, where we dive into truths others are afraid to speak. Leave your like now, because this content took hours of deep astrological research to create. Activate the notification bell, as each video is a piece of the cosmic puzzle of your life. And subscribe right this moment, because what I'm about to reveal in the coming minutes will reconfigure your understanding of who you are and where you're headed. This is not an ordinary video. It's a 30-minute journey through the deepest layers of your destiny. Each minute was carefully crafted to reveal something new, something essential, something you cannot miss. Watch until the end. Gemini, every second counts. Every word was chosen. Nothing here is accidental. And the revelation awaiting you at the end will change everything. Point 1. The first crack opens in 2026. Gemini, the first crack appears. And it doesn't come from outside. It's born within you, like a silent geological fault that suddenly transforms into an earthquake. Something at the core of your existence begins to split apart. And no matter how much you try to ignore it, no matter how much you distract yourself, no matter how much you run, this fissure will expand until you're forced to look directly at it. Saturn, the lord of time and inevitable lessons, is pressing on your deepest emotional zone, the one you keep locked away. He doesn't ask permission, Gemini. He simply invades, tears off the boards covering your internal basements, and shines a cold light on everything you buried there. At the same time, Jupiter expands the hidden areas of your mind, amplifying every fear, every doubt, every unspoken truth you've been accumulating for years. This combination is explosive. It's the beginning of what ancient astrologers called the awakening of the twin, when the two faces of Gemini finally meet and need to negotiate who truly commands your life. Imagine an ancient mirror covered in dust, forgotten in the attic of your consciousness. Suddenly, a cosmic vibration makes it tremble. Cracks begin to form, slowly, one after another. And in each shard that breaks away, you see a different reflection of yourself. Pieces of who you were, fragments of who you could have been, versions of you trapped in past decisions. All these forgotten selves begin to scream for attention in 2026, and you'll no longer be able to silence them. In real life, this manifests in concrete and impossible to ignore ways. That relationship that seemed solid begins to show fissures that were always there, but you chose not to see. That years-long friendship reveals its true nature, and you realize with horror or relief that it hasn't fed your soul for a long time. That job that paid the bills but drained your essence finally becomes unbearable. And the most frightening thing, Gemini, is that you'll realize you always knew, always felt it, always sensed something was wrong. But you chose the convenience of denial. In 2026, this choice will no longer be available. The truth will find you, and when it arrives, there will be no turning back. Point 2. The test of hidden language, Gemini. Your words have always been your greatest tool, but in 2026 they transform into something much more powerful and dangerous. They become weapons that can destroy or doors that can open entire dimensions of possibilities. Every syllable that leaves your mouth will carry an energetic weight you've never experienced before. Every message you send will reverberate through invisible layers of reality. You're entering a period where communication ceases to be superficial and becomes an act of pure magic. Mercury, your ruling planet, master of word and thought, enters retrograde in water signs throughout 2026. This means your communication will dive into emotional depths. You won't be able to stay on the surface of conversations anymore. Words will carry undercurrents of meaning. What you say will echo not just in the ears of those who listen, but in their souls. You'll access layers of language you didn't know existed. Truths will escape your mouth before your rational filter can block them. Secrets kept for years will want to be spoken. And most disturbing, you'll feel an almost mystical compulsion to express things you've always kept buried. Think of an ancient temple, built in the mountains, where every whispered word echoes through sacred stones and awakens entities that have slept for centuries. This is how your communication will be in 2026. Every important conversation will feel like a ritual. Every discussion will have the power to change destinies. Every time you choose to speak or remain silent, you'll be exercising a power beyond common understanding. And with this power comes a terrifying responsibility. You can push away the right people by saying the wrong words at the wrong time. Or you can attract opportunities that will completely change your life just by reformulating how you express yourself. In practice, this means you need to pay extreme attention to how you communicate. That email you send without thinking much can close doors you didn't even know were open. That difficult conversation you've been postponing, when it finally happens, can free both parties from invisible emotional prisons. That project you need to present comes alive or dies depending on how you articulate your vision. And most fascinating, Gemini, you'll discover you have access to an almost telepathic form of communication. You'll begin to understand what wasn't said, to read between the lines of reality, to perceive lies before they're even completed. Your linguistic intuition will become a superpower. Point 3. The call of the lost path, something you abandoned long ago, is coming back, Gemini, and it's not a choice, it's a summons. It's as if the universe had kept a part of your destiny in a cosmic vault, waiting for the exact moment to return it to you. And that moment is 2026. You'll feel this as a growing pulse. A call that begins as a distant whisper and gradually transforms into a roar echoing inside your chest. The North Node, the point of inevitable destiny in astrology, is touching areas of your natal chart related to unresolved past. It's stirring layers of time you thought were buried forever. Old skills you developed and then abandoned begin to awaken in your hands. Desires you repressed because they seemed impractical or childish begin to pulse with renewed urgency. Projects you left half-finished because life took you another way begin to appear in your thoughts obsessively. People from the past resurface, bringing messages or opportunities that seem impossible to be coincidence. Imagine a tribal drum being played somewhere distant, so far you can barely hear it, but the rhythm is there, constant, insistent. At first, you think it's your imagination. But with each passing day, the sound gets a little louder, a little clearer, a little more impossible to ignore. Until there comes a moment when the drum is beating so loudly you feel the vibration in your bones. And you know with absolute certainty you need to follow this call, even without fully understanding where it's leading you. This is the call of the lost path in 2026 in everyday reality. This manifests in surprising and specific ways. That artistic passion you had in your 20s, when you played music or painted or wrote and abandoned to pursue a more sensible career, begins to call you again. But now it's not just a nostalgic hobby. It's a vocational calling that won't accept no for an answer. That natural talent you had and never fully developed begins to manifest in unexpected situations, reminding you of unrealized potential. That dream you once had of living elsewhere, working in another field, being another version of yourself, returns not as fantasy but as concrete possibility. And even more disturbing, decisions you made in the past that you thought were finally resolved come back demanding revision. That relationship that ended years ago may resurface in a new form, asking for a second chance or true closure. That professional path you chose not to follow appears again, but now with different circumstances. That forgiveness you never gave, that apology you never made, that truth you never told, all of this comes back knocking on your door in 2026, demanding resolution. If you're feeling chills right now, if something inside you is saying yes to these words, subscribe right now to the Astrological Revelations channel. What comes in the next points is even more intense, even more transformative. Activate the bell so you don't miss any revelation, because point 7 will turn your understanding of yourself upside down. Leave your like if this content is resonating with your soul. Point 4, the shadow revealed in 2026. Gemini. A truth you've been avoiding with all your strength finally stares you in the eyes, and there will be nowhere to run. This truth has a name, has a form, has a voice, and it knows every dark corner of your soul you've tried to keep hidden. The year 2026 marks the moment when all the masks you've meticulously constructed throughout your life begin to crack, fall, disintegrate, revealing the true face behind them. And this face may frighten you or free you, but it will never leave you indifferent. Pluto, the planet of radical transformation, death and rebirth, the destruction that precedes all true creation, is intensifying your zone of purpose and identity. It didn't come to reform, Gemini. It came to demolish. Pluto destroys illusions like fire devours a dry forest. It exposes internal lies you've told yourself so many times you began to believe them as absolute truths. It forces you to abandon old masks that have become part of your skin, tearing them off with necessary, painful, but liberating violence. It's like lighting a torch in a cave you never dared to enter. At first, the weak light only suggests shapes on the walls, shadows dancing in the gloom. But as you approach, as the flame grows, you begin to see with absolute clarity what was always there. Symbols carved in rock for millennia. Marks you yourself left without realizing. Ancestral truths about who you are, where you came from, and where you should be going. And most disturbing of all, you realize you always knew, always saw these marks on the walls. You simply chose to keep the torch extinguished, preferring to stumble in darkness rather than face what the light would reveal. In concrete life, this shadow revelation manifests in brutally honest ways. You'll finally perceive, with a clarity that cuts like a blade, who truly loves you and who only approached out of convenience. Interest need to fill their own emotional voids. That person you always defended, always justified, always gave another chance, will show their true face, and there will be no more denying what you always felt but refused to admit. Toxic relationships you've been maintaining out of fear of loneliness, attachment to the past, or pure emotional inertia will reveal themselves in all their toxicity, like poison that finally shows its true color in daylight. Destructive patterns you've repeated for years, even decades, will appear drawn before you with frightening clarity. You'll see connections you couldn't perceive before. You'll understand how that childhood wound transformed into that self-sabotaging adult behavior. You'll recognize how that unprocessed trauma made you always choose the same type of person, same type of situation, same type of pain, just with different costumes. And most liberating and terrifying simultaneously, you'll understand that only you can break this cycle. No one will come save you. No external event will magically resolve this. It's you alone, facing your own shadow, deciding whether you want to continue feeding it or are ready to integrate and transcend it. Deep exhaustions hidden under layers of denial will emerge like lava from a dormant volcano that finally awakens. That emotional exhaustion you've been ignoring will demand attention. That resentment you swallowed out of politeness will want to be expressed. That anger you transformed into passive aggression will explode in ways you can no longer control. And you'll have to decide, Gemini, continue feeding these shadows or finally truly face them. Point 5. Crossing the closed door. What didn't happen before? What you postponed, avoided, left for later 1,000 times, now depends only on you, Gemini. And 2026 won't give you more excuses, more delays, more maybe later. The door you've been passing by 4 years, pretending it doesn't exist, that it's locked, that it's not the right time to open, will begin to pulse with an impossible-to-ignore energy. And you'll feel deep in your soul that if you don't cross this door now, it might close forever. Mars, the planet of action, initiative, the vital impulse that moves us toward destiny, is activating crucial areas of your natal chart related to decisions you've been avoiding for too long. Mars doesn't understand maybe. When I can, I'll think about it. Mars is now or never. It's jump or watch the opportunity disappear. You'll be pushed, sometimes gently, sometimes with brutal force, toward decisions you've avoided for years. And most frightening, Gemini, not taking action will also be a choice. And this choice will have consequences as profound as taking action. The difference is that the consequence of inaction is always regret. And regret is a ghost that haunts you for decades. Imagine you're before an ancient door covered in rust, with rusted hinges that haven't moved for years. You know, behind this door exists something important, something that belongs to you, something that can completely change the course of your life. But the door is heavy. It's locked not with keys, but with the weight of your own fears, your own excuses, your own stories of why it's not possible. And then comes 2026, and suddenly you feel a force growing inside you. It's not a force from outside. It's something that was asleep in your own chest, awakening, roaring, demanding you finally push that damn door with all the strength you possess. And when you finally push, when you finally cross, on the other side exists a life you didn't even know was possible. In practical, tangible reality, this means everything gains urgency in 2026, that job you always wanted to pursue. But were afraid to leave the security of the current one, suddenly becomes a vital necessity. It's no longer about wanting, it's about needing to breathe, to feel alive. That move to another city, country, environment, that always seemed too radical, too irresponsible, begins to seem the only sensible option. You look around and realize you're living a life that isn't yours, in a place that doesn't belong to you, surrounded by situations that drain your essence, and the voice inside you that always whispered go. Change? Risk is now screaming so loud you can no longer sleep in peace. Personal projects you kept in the drawer, dreams you filed in the impossible category, ambitions you called immature or unrealistic, all return with renewed force. But it's not the same hopeful, naive energy of the past. It's a mature urgency, a determination forged in years of accumulated frustration, a certainty that if you don't do this now, an essential part of you will die, and you're no longer willing to let that part die. Relationships also enter this closed-door dynamic. That conversation you've needed to have 4 years, that apology you never managed to make, that declaration stuck in your throat, that ending that needs to happen but you keep postponing. All of this will demand resolution in 2026, and you'll feel physically, in your chest, throat, stomach, that you can't wait anymore. Time is passing, people are changing. Opportunities have expiration dates, and Mars will push you to act even when you don't feel totally ready. Because the truth is no one ever feels totally ready for decisions that truly matter. And here's the deepest secret of this point, Gemini. 2026 will be the year you define the direction of the next 7 years of your life. The decisions you make or fail to make this year will create a trajectory that will unfold throughout the entire following cycle. It's as if you're at a cosmic crossroads where multiple possible futures present themselves before you, but you can only walk in one direction. And the destiny you choose now, consciously or unconsciously, will determine who you'll be in 2030. In 2033, there's no escaping this responsibility. There's no delegating this choice. It's yours, only yours. And the universe is waiting for your answer. Point 6. The risk of multiplicity, Gemini. You'll have to choose between multiple paths in 2026, And this will be one of the most anguishing and liberating experiences of your life. Because for the first time, you won't be able to follow all of them simultaneously. You won't be able to keep all doors open. You won't be able to be all versions of yourself at once. The universe will place you before a multiple mirror where each reflection shows a different life, a possible destiny, an alternative version of your future. And you'll have to choose one reflection and let the others disappear into the fog of what could have been. Jupiter, the planet of expansion, infinite possibilities, limitless horizons, is opening multiple doors simultaneously in your life. Opportunities emerge from all sides, some expected, others completely unexpected. Each one is real, each is viable, each promises something you desire. But at the same time, Saturn, Lord of limitations, responsibility, mature choice, demands absolute focus. He looks you in the eyes and says, "You can't have everything. You can't be everything. You need to choose." This combination creates what ancient astrologers called the Gemini paradox, the torment of having many possible paths, but knowing that choosing one means closing the others, perhaps forever. Imagine a gigantic labyrinth built in the stars, where each corridor leads to a radically different destiny. One corridor takes you to a life of adventure, constant travel, total freedom but permanent instability. Another corridor guides you to security, structure, deep roots, but less movement, less novelty. A third corridor promises intense passion, transformative relationships, but comes with emotional turbulence. Another offers peace, tranquility, creative solitude, but distance from people. And you're at the center of this labyrinth, knowing you need to choose one corridor now, because some of them have doors that close automatically after a certain time. If you hesitate too much trying to keep all options open, you might end up with none. In practical reality, this manifests in ways that will keep you awake at night. Professional proposals emerge simultaneously, each promising different things. One job offers higher salary but requires you abandon personal projects. Another offers less money but total alignment with your values. A third promises accelerated growth but demands moving to another city or country. And all demand quick response, immediate decision. You won't have the luxury of waiting to see what happens. Life is forcing you to declare who you are through the choices you make. Relationships also enter this multiplied dynamic. You may find yourself attracted to different people simultaneously, each representing a different version of the future. One person offers stability, family, roots. Another offers passion, intensity, constant transformation. A third offers intellectual partnership, deep friendship, but less emotional fire. And you'll have to choose not based on which person is better, but on which life you want to live, because each relationship is actually a portal to a different reality. Creative projects, career changes, financial investments, decisions about where to live. All of this will appear in multiplicity in 2026, and the temptation will be to keep all balls in the air. Do everything simultaneously, close no door. But Saturn will show you brutally that dispersion is the path to mediocrity, that doing many things halfway is worse than doing one thing fully, that you need to sacrifice some possible futures so one real future can manifest with full force. And here's the most painful secret of this point. 2026 will be the year you define the direction of the next 7 years of your life through these choices. What you decide now will create a trajectory that will unfold throughout the entire following Saturnian cycle. You're literally sculpting your destiny with each yes and each no you pronounce. And the most frightening thing, you won't have all the information. You won't know for certain which choice is right. You'll have to decide based on intuition, courage, faith in your own judgment, and live with the consequences, knowing there's no turning back. If you've made it this far, if these words are echoing in your soul, subscribe now to the Astrological Revelations channel. What comes next is the deepest revelation of all, the one that will turn your world upside down. Activate the bell so you don't miss the next videos, because Gemini's journey in 2026 is just the beginning of a much larger cycle. Leave your like if this content is transforming your perspective on the future that awaits you. Point 7. The final revelation, the awakening of the second self. Now we arrive at the deepest, most disturbing, and most liberating point of all. In 2026, Gemini, You'll encounter the version of yourself you've tried to avoid, deny, hide, repress your entire life. You'll come face to face with the other you, the one living on the other side of the mirror of consciousness. And this encounter won't be metaphorical. It will be visceral, real, impossible to ignore. It will be the moment when the two halves of your soul finally recognize each other, and one of them will have to die so you can be reborn whole. The North Node, the point of karmic destiny in astrology, is directly touching your most sensitive psychological axis, the one governing integration between conscious and unconscious, between the self you show the world and the self you hide even from yourself. Simultaneously, Pluto is activating your deepest shadow, that part of you containing everything you rejected, everything you considered unacceptable, everything you buried alive hoping it would never resurface. When these two forces meet, occurs the phenomenon esoteric astrologers call integration of the twin, the moment when Gemini must choose between remaining divided or becoming whole, even if it means destroying the identity built until now. Visualize a door between two worlds opening slowly, creaking with the weight of years of denial. On the other side of this door is another version of you, waiting decades for this encounter. This version is everything you could have been if you'd made different choices. It's the artist you repressed to be practical. It's the mystic you silenced to seem rational. It's the wild one you domesticated to be accepted. It's the vulnerable one you hardened not to get hurt. It's the dreamer you killed to survive. And now, in 2026, this version is emerging from shadows, walking toward you, and saying with a voice that's simultaneously yours and completely strange, I exist, I always existed. And you can no longer pretend I'm not here. This other self thinks differently from you. It has values you learn to despise. It wants things you called impossible. It feels deeply while you try to control everything with reason. It's chaotic while you seek order. It's passionate while you keep distant. It's courageous while you protect yourself with caution. And the confrontation between these two versions will create an identity crisis like you've never experienced. You'll question everything. Who are you really? Which version is true? Or maybe both are true and you need to find a way to integrate them into a single being. More complex, more complete, more human. In real, everyday life, this awakening of the second self will manifest in ways that will shake your most fundamental certainties. You'll realize you can no longer live divided. Can't be one person at work and another at home. Can't use one mask for family and another for friends. Can't bury your true desires to please others' expectations. Something inside you will rebel against this fragmentation, against this existential lie, against this betrayal of your own being. You may discover the career you built doesn't reflect who you truly are, but who you thought you should be. May perceive relationships you maintained for years were based on an edited version of you. And now that the true self is emerging, these connections no longer make sense. May recognize beliefs you defended tooth and nail were actually borrowed from others, never genuinely yours. And then comes the most important decision of your life. You'll choose who you truly are and abandon who you pretended to be survive, to be accepted, not to disappoint others. You'll have courage to disappoint important people in exchange for honoring your own truth. You'll risk losing relationships, opportunities, security in exchange for conquering integrity, authenticity, wholeness. This is the true Gemini rebirth. It's not adding another mask to the collection. It's destroying all masks and appearing naked before the world, saying, this is me. Complex, contradictory, multiple, but finally whole. I'll no longer apologize for containing multitudes. I'll no longer divide myself to fit others' expectations. I am the messenger who transits between light and shadow because both are mine. And whoever can't love my totality doesn't deserve even my half. This is the most dangerous point because it demands death. Symbolic death, but one that hurts as much as real death. You'll have to kill the version of yourself you've fed for years. We'll have to let old identities die, even those that brought you here, because they fulfilled their purpose, but now are too small to contain who you're becoming. And only after this death, only after this mourning, only after honoring what was but recognizing it can no longer be, can you be reborn? And when reborn, Gemini, you'll be unrecognizable, more powerful, more true, more whole, finally free. So, Gemini, now you know. 2026 isn't just another year spinning on the cosmic calendar. It's not simply a date that will arrive and pass like all others. It's a dimensional portal opening, a crack in the fabric of your reality. A convergence point where multiple timelines meet and you're forced to choose which one will become your real life. It's the moment when the universe stops whispering and starts shouting. It's when the destiny that's been approaching silently since 2021 finally knocks on your door with enough force to knock down all the barriers you built. And Gemini is the sign that will most intensely feel this crossing. Because you are the guardians of thresholds, the messengers who transit between worlds. The dual beings who carry within themselves the eternal dance between light and shadow, between the known and unknown, between who you are and who you can become. And in 2026, this duality will no longer be an abstract concept or astrological characteristic. It will be a visceral, painful, transformative, and finally liberating experience. You'll face truths that burn like fire in the soul. Truths about who you really are behind all masks. Truths about relationships you maintained from fear of being alone. Truths about dreams you buried to seem realistic. Truths about potentials you wasted not to risk. And these truths won't spare you, won't be gentle, won't leave you comfortable. They'll shatter you so you can rebuild yourself in a more true, more powerful, more whole way. You'll find cross paths at every corner, decisions that cannot be postponed, choices that will define the next 7 years of your existence. And you won't have the luxury of keeping all options open, of being all versions of yourself at once, of postponing until you have absolute certainty. Life will push you out of the comfort zone with a force that accepts no resistance. And you'll have to trust yourself, your intuition, your courage, even when everything seems uncertain. You'll experience opportunities so intense they'll keep you awake. Moments where you feel everything is changing too fast, where the ground beneath your feet seems unstable, where nothing you know seems solid. And it will be precisely in these moments you'll discover your true strength. Because Gemini, your mutable nature isn't weakness. It's the ability to dance in the storm while others just cling to what they know. It's the skill to adapt, transform, rise from your own ashes while the world around burns. And you'll face definitive choices that will separate who you were from who you're becoming. You'll have to leave people, places, identities behind. You'll have to kill old versions of yourself that no longer serve, even if you still feel affection for them. You'll have to cross the portal knowing you can't return, that the person who enters isn't the same one who exits on the other side. And this hurts, Gemini. Hurts like few things hurt. But it's the only way to be reborn. But all this exists with a sacred purpose, with a cosmic intention that transcends your rational understanding. All this was architected to reveal your true self, to tear the veils of illusion, to destroy the prisons you built around your essence. You're being forced to become who you always should have been, but were afraid to be. You're being pushed toward your true destiny. The one you glimpsed in moments of clarity but avoided for seeming impossible or too frightening. Let's quickly review the complete journey awaiting you in 2026, so you can engrave each point deep in your consciousness. First, the first crack opens within you. Fissures appear in the structure of your current life, forcing you to see what you always avoided. Relationships show their true faces. Jobs reveal their exhaustion. Denial becomes impossible. Second, your words gain uncommon power, transforming into weapons or doors. Every conversation carries energetic weight. Every message reverberates in invisible dimensions. You access telepathic layers of communication you never imagined possessing. Third, the past returns with irresistible force. Old passions resurface asking for attention. Forgotten talents awaken in your hands. Unresolved decisions knock on the door demanding closure or restart. The universe returns what you left along the way. Fourth, the shadow reveals itself without mercy. Pluto tears off your masks and exposes truths you buried. Toxic relationships show their toxicity. Destructive patterns appear drawn with frightening clarity. You face who you really are behind illusions. Fifth, the closed door demands immediate action. Mars pushes you toward decisions you've postponed for years. Not acting is also choice, and brings consequences as profound as acting. The moment is now or never. The time for waiting is over. Sixth, you'll have to choose between multiple possible paths, but cannot follow all. Jupiter opens to many doors simultaneously. Saturn demands you choose only one. The Gemini paradox forces you to define who you are through what you sacrifice. And seventh, the deepest of all, you'll encounter your second self, the one you always tried to avoid. The two halves of your soul confront each other. One must die so you can be reborn whole. It's the moment of final integration, where you abandon who you pretended to be and assume who you really are, even if it means disappointing people, losing relationships, destroying old identities. It's the complete Gemini rebirth. And now, Gemini, we arrive at the final moment of this revelation. The question that truly matters is no longer what comes in 2026. You already know what's coming. You've already seen the 7 portals that will open before you. You've already felt the weight of choices you'll have to make. You've already sensed the magnitude of transformation awaiting you. The real question now is, what will you do with this knowledge? Because knowing isn't enough, Gemini. Knowledge without action is just another weight on consciousness, another unlived truth accumulating dust in your mind. You can watch this video, feel chills, recognize every word as truth resonating deep in your soul, and still do absolutely nothing. Can return to life as usual, pretend you didn't hear. Let fear paralyze you again, or you can do differently. Can use this knowledge as a map to navigate the approaching storm. Can prepare internally for ruptures that will come. Can start today looking honestly at truths you've been avoiding. Can stop postponing decisions your heart already knows need to be made. Can begin integration work before the universe forces you to do it more brutally. And here's the final secret, the most dangerous truth I can reveal. 2026 won't wait for you to be ready. The portal is opening now, at this exact moment. Each passing day, the energy intensifies. Cosmic forces align, destiny approaches. And when it arrives, won't ask if you did your homework, if you're prepared. If you feel confident, it will simply happen. And you'll have to deal with what comes, ready or not. Time is moving, Gemini. It may seem there's still plenty of time until 2026, but at the speed things are unfolding in the cosmos, it's just a blink. And the portal has already begun to open. You're already feeling the first signs, even if your rational mind tries to explain them as coincidence, that growing restlessness, that feeling something big is approaching.